weird for me to say that I had pre-knowledge, but I've worked on all kinds of games in the past. Like I already have a game development background, so it wasn't as hard for me to pick things up, but I also wasn't really much of a programmer. Now I'm a fucking programmer. I program all the time, every day. Like I'm just opening it up.
Welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion.
I'm Old Man Raptor, and we got one hell of a person here today, folks. And boy, look out. Pay attention. And that is.
Hello, I'm Castle.
Oh,
So I don't know what to add to that.
thank you very much for donating. It's a pleasure to have you on and be able to meet you. So thank you for your time.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
so what is it?
Castle, are you made a lot of bricks or just Lego?
It was like big stone, giant, like
Oh,
heavy
okay.
stones.
So it's not
Yeah.
Lego. Gotcha. Understand. No problem. He's not made out of plastic, folks.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
No problem.
Not,
He ain't a
not
Barbie.
usually.
He's Castle. Gotcha.
Oh, well, let's just jump into the meat and potatoes of the conversation then. What are you most known for? How'd you get started? What got you into VRChat?
I'm not sure what I'm most known for. I know it's the Oasis, but um, I've been running events in VRChat probably since 2019 at the original Zombie Doll Lounge, which was an old world that was, fairly well known, I guess. Um, but the scene was pretty different back in the day, you know what I mean? And we would, we would run events and do like 3 or 4 nights a week. Zombie Doll and I would do that, and we never really quite stopped. Eventually, I made a club for myself, which was just called The Castle, and that was in 2020 to 2021, and that ended up being a really interesting story. There was a lot of stuff that went on, and learned a lot. It was a big slice of the scene for, I guess, a while. I don't even know because like it's very difficult to know because the scene is so big. Even
Hmm.
back in 2020, right? Like it was hard to really know like every 80 player lobby that was going on. So like there was a lot of interesting stuff. Uh, I know the player base was a lot smaller back then, right?
Hmm.
2020,
Yeah,
2019.
it was just
What we were
before the
sitting at
COVID
less
boom.
than 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
Think so.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's before the yeah.
Yes, you're
So
correct.
so it was like a fraction of what the players are now in VR chat and the social VR scene and everything like that. Then after that, I started thinking a little bit different because there were aspects of the castle that I wanted to develop that would be um, cross communities because different communities would use the world, but then I would start giving people their own space, their own places to go.
Hmm.
And the castle was at the time was 2 worlds in size, which at the time, you have 2 clubs in this world. What? Like that was like the thing to do, or like what was kind of interesting about that. And then we had a community for Sinister, which was the goth industrial scene on one side of the world, and then we'd have the castle on the other. And then I'd start experimenting with private residencies,
Hmm.
in which case people would have their own unique spawns and customized apartments, right?
Hmm.
And I started doing that because it was something that I saw that a lot of people like thought it was the dumbest idea in the world. But the truth is that like if you look at Second Life and stuff like that, I was like, nah, I don't think it's the dumbest idea. I think there's something to that. And so I started doing it. Um, and once the castle kind of reached its peak maximum, in terms of like as much as I can do in that world, I started looking at structuring everything differently so that I can increase the size of the world from like 2 clubs and 2 apartments to now like, well, we're over 100 now.
Wow.
I never thought we'd get that high. I remember
Wow.
thinking when I was working on the first Oasis, because the first Oasis kind of capped out at around 40. right? And that was it. We can't get as laggy as shit, and we gotta stop this. Stop adding more. Um, that's when I started working on this place, and this place is uh a much bigger job. So it has an in-game world editor. The couch that we're sitting on, the furniture, all this stuff is placed inside of VRChat. And one of the tricks to that is that you can make the world bigger because there's less in the world because none of the objects exist.
Oh
And
wow.
all of the other locations that are in here, they're just the shell. That's it, and it's just a disabled game object, right? And that's the shell of the location. But when you enter the location, it loads a pastebin file, which then builds it structures the location out while you're there, like while you're at the front door. So like when I opened up the front door for you guys to come into my apartment, yeah, it constructed the location right at that moment. And that's how this world can have 100 worlds in it, is because I built a system where we build the world inside of the world, and then it loads only the specific parts that we need when uh, when when we need them. So that was how I advanced past the first Oasis, where the limit was like 40 locations. It was like 20 apartments and 20 clubs. Now it's somewhere between 20 to 30 clubs, and I have, you know, how many apartments? You know, over 70 of them. And those are private residencies of varying sizes and stuff like that. And that's how I kind of fund the project, is people rent those, or they also make use of individual community files, in which case they can have their staff run through a pastebin file, which is an external thing. Every single location can have, either locked down communities that are allowed to use that specific location, so people actually have true ownership. I remember in Oasis 1, one of the big problems was there was just one staff list for all locations, and I'd have somebody breaking the rules and using a club that didn't belong to them and stuff like that, and then the club would contact me, and I'd be like, God damn it! I'm like, what am I supposed to do about this? Luckily, it didn't happen very often though. So now it's impossible. The system doesn't support people being able to just use any location they want. And it's been a lot. There's just been so much. And now I'm working on my own thing outside of VRChat,
Oh wow.
which is, yeah, it's way harder, by the way. Like, it's so much easier working inside of VRChat. When you start building something outside of VRChat, it's in orders of magnitude more complicated.
Oh.
But
God damn, what kind of fucking money do you make that you're putting up buildings outside of here? Oh, you're not talking the real world, right? Okay, I'm just double checking myself here. Going, what the hell kind of fucking cost does it cost to get a fucking place around here? God damn, I'm gonna next week at my house. I'm taking out the whole city block and I'm putting up new. Screw them. I don't care if they're living there or not. They can move out. No big deal. I've got a question for you, Castle. When you
Just-
first came into VR, what was the weirdest thing you ever seen?
the weirdest thing I've ever seen in the very begining.
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember, man. There have been so many weird things in this game.
Yeah.
People would just
We
show up
know
with
that.
they
We
just
know
show up with
that
the
one for a
weirdest
fact.
avatars. Yeah, the weirdest avatars. Like some, I don't even know, like meme avatars, definitely. Oh, Knuckles. Knuckles was the weirdest thing, my first initial impression. That's where things started. I looked at Knuckles, like, it didn't even make any sense. I was like, what is this? And then there was the whole Uganda meme and everything like that. God, so
Gotcha.
weird, right?
Okay.
Whoa. Well,
Man, we heard the Knuckles ones and everything else like this, but since the Knuckles things, have you seen since then that really going? You have to take a double take going. Oh my God, what the hell's wrong with these people?
God, that's a tough one, because there's a lot of possible weird stuff. I don't know, it's usually just random conversations and just stuff that just happens in like a black cat or something like that. Hmm. God, I'd have to dig a bit to find the weirdest because I've just seen so many weird things.
I gotcha. I understand.
And also,
I
too, to know
understand.
the perspective, like the viewers watching this, right? Like, what is their perspective? Like, so some of them, a leash system would probably be one of the weirdest things, right? But that's normal now.
That or watching a
Not
hot
even
dog and
flinch.
something else go at it in a fucking cubicle when you least expect it. Yeah, you're going, oh my
Yeah,
God,
yeah, yeah,
help
yeah.
me. What is
I don't
going
know.
on here? It's a hot dog. What are you doing, dude? And you don't even got their avatar on. All you see is fall back going, yeah, I've been in that situation with Black Cat and everything else like this. Yeah. Walking. When I had my situation, castle and stuff like this, I walked in and somebody goes, shh. I go, oh, what? Shh. Because Black Cat was a big thing. That's where most people ended up. And shh, you gotta come. I go, okay. You get there and all you hear is this moaning, and they're in the bathroom, and you don't even see their avatars, and everything else like this. And I'm being small for so many years, and you sneak in there, and you just turn around going, is it okay if I can watch? Or something like that. I don't remember what I said. And the person goes, shut up, you're ruining my groove. That's all I fucking got. Everybody got, and then everybody was started to laugh, and everybody, and then he peeks outside the door, where you can go through the door, and turns around and goes, what the hell is going on? And everybody goes, you ruined it for us. I mean, the bathroom was just packed, man. It was just packed.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the way it goes. But
Oh,
Hmm.
well, I will ask you this though. From it sounds like with each evolution of from the castle to the first version of the Oasis to the second, between the castle and the first version of the Oasis, how much changed with how you structure the world and technologically between the first and the second
Uh,
iteration, and what caused it?
fundamental rebuild, restructuring. I learned a lot on the first Oasis. Uh, building multiple worlds inside of a single world is a hack. It's not really VRChat's not designed for that. It's a difficult thing, but it's necessary in order to procure this this vision of having like the Ready Player One style thing. Because I personally like I think it's structurally really cool that VRChat does have like, you jump into a portal, your friends follow, and now you're in this tiny little world, and then it's a separate thing, right? But what I want to do is a little bit different. I want to have a world that's kind of like an MMO. Like,
Hmm.
I want to in an ideal scenario, I'd be able to have a static server for the Oasis. Maybe a cap, maybe a higher than usual player cap or something like that. And like 200 players or something like that. And then you walk into each of the individual locations, and then you shift into a different server without actually loading the asset bundle for the world,
Mm.
right? And then different people appear. Now you're in another place. Like you can just look out the window, and it's still the same world. It's a continuous like experience. It's a contiguous experience. So like to me, that's what I would like to have is something that's more structured like that, and that's the direction I ended up going. But you have to do a lot in order to achieve that. You have to be very careful about a lot of stuff too, and also too, if you're working with a lot of communities, you have to be ready for that too. That's a lot of people don't like each other over kinds of weird stuff, man.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Castle, have you ever had a situation where the way you're talking about running it and everything else like this, have you ever had is your situation when you built it and everything else like this, don't get me wrong, you've really built outside the box.
Yeah.
He's going to do a boogaloo for us, folks. He just got up to put his drink down. But the
No, I just gotta. Yeah.
you're fun. I'm just picking on you. When you had the structure and stuff like this, did you ever think that it's possible, because you mentioned it, to get it to work like Ready Player One? Is that your goal? Is that what you're shooting for?
Yeah, that's what I want. Ultimately, what I want to do is I want to have a platform that just functions that way. Now, the VRChat itself could go in that direction too and give us the ability to have static servers and be able to link between them and stuff like that. It's not impossible, but it's
Okay.
unlikely because it's small potatoes to them, right? Because like what I would like to have is like, you know, a community of about 1,000 people. They have 100,000, right? Like to me, it's very possible to run something that's a little bit smaller scale, but still very interesting in terms of like what can be done with it, right? So I don't have my sights set on making this like the biggest thing ever. I want to have it be what it needs to be in order for me to achieve this like really cool thing that people can see from the outside world and look in, right?
Mm.
So, and I mean, you know, that could turn into something bigger, but like that's not really my idea right now. So, with the platform that I'm building outside of VRChat right now, which I call the VRU Darknet, which is like an edgy name and everything like that. It's purposefully named that way. I'm marketing it that way. The dark web is the evil place. The dark net, everything is the dark net. So I understand the, you know, that it's it's just meant to sound edgy. It's not really. VRChat is also darknet. Like everything that's behind a password or, you know, a login screen is darknet, but I'm calling it that because I want it to have this sort of like Vegas, you go to Vegas kind of feel to it, right?
Mm.
And that will be designed expressly so that it's already set up that way right now, where you can walk from one location to another, see people on the way because they're on this server, and then you walk to this server, and then it unloads these people, and then these people load, and now you're in this different location, right? Now you can find a nice in-game world editor, stuff like that. You can garner a pretty interesting experience, you know, which would be the proper. So that would be Oasis 3.0, right? So we're in 2.0 right now. I don't think that we would be able to do the vision that I'm trying to go for inside of VRChat, and I don't know if the VRChat devs even are interested in it. And also too, I have a very big disconnect with my opinion on the 13 plus thing. I don't believe that children should be even playing a social VR game. You know, maybe it's a contentious topic and stuff like that, but like to me personally, I think that it's cut off 18. This is an adult game. Period. I don't even know. I don't even know if it's a good idea for children to be playing VR. So like, it's so I kind of need we kind of need to separate eventually.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah. Okay. So I will ask you this: what have been some of the most memorable or toughest moments inside of VR Oasis and the castle for that have stuck with you over the years?
Ooh. Starting off
It
a
was
big project.
it was the board with all the little pieces all in line and saying, "Go, it's your turn." Oh, sorry, I had to be a shit.
It was always the self-doubt that happens whenever you start something new.
Mm.
Oh God. Um. You know, you always have people tell you it's a stupid idea. You always sit there struggling to get this one thing working, and you're lucky if it even does. You know, and you like rework all this stuff, and then you look at this like big thing that you gotta, okay, I gotta do this. Whew, man, the self doubt, that is the worst.
Oh.
I have no idea.
Mm.
I have no idea if
I,
this is going to be successful. I don't know.
Ca-
I have no clue. Your guess is as good as mine.
Castle, have you ever thought? I've always said this, that you ever thought of actually taking it to the next step and, oh God, how do I want to put this without making it sound stupid or off the wall? You ever thought of taking your idea and taking it beyond VR?
Oh, beyond VR? Oh, no,
What
because
I'm
I think
getting at,
that's. Oh,
what I'm
yeah.
getting at, so you don't get the wrong exception. What I'm talking about is if you got enough backing, you have Steam VR, what we're doing now, you know, we're in VR chat, but making up your own setup
You mean your own platform? I believe
So
is
it'd
this
be
question outside of your chat.
complete.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what the Darknet is. Yeah, the Darknet is my own
Okay.
platform. It's built on
Okay.
top of a Basis.
Oh,
So
wow.
Basis is it's open source as well. And now the thing that's probably more likely is that I'm gonna share my code and I'm gonna construct this Darknet, this thing, the VRU Darknet, which is gonna basically just be the Oasis, but on my own platform, right? And functioning as it's supposed to from its original vision, right? Uh, it's based on top of a framework that already exists, and once it's open source, it's very likely that other people are going to follow and make their own. In which case, we may end up with what's going to probably happen. I don't know. I'm not the best at predicting the future always. Is if what I do does work, we may start having a federated system uh, a bunch of different individuals who have their own version of the exact same thing that I'm doing, and they kind of follow my steps, and then they produce their own thing with their own vision, and then we can federate it so that we can actually travel back and forth between the two different ones. In which case, that can turn into an unironic Ready Player One. Like we could. It really stems from having the open source framework that Basis currently is, and then me sharing the code that I'm doing, and then also being successful at the same time could kickstart its own thing.
Hmm.
Like, and it won't just be me; it will be, way other people. Like, if it turns out that it's not that hard, right now it's a total nightmare to set something up. I mean, you got to run your own server, you got to know all the commands for Ubuntu, and make sure you're running all this stuff, and then on top of that, you have like all these extra things of complexity in terms of like network code and everything like that, right? Like, so it is harder. But if it does work out, if what I'm trying to do does work out, we could have a blueprint for something that can go much larger, all right? And then we federate it. So you travel, it's literally like traveling between different states and countries, right? Yeah. And then that could be really interesting. That's when we'll get the real deal. Because when you're working with an open source system, you don't have any limitations at all. There's no sandbox. No, that's a completely different setup, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's kind of the plan with that. So I am actually cooking that up. But I don't see it. I run events in the Darknet right now every Friday. I just made a bunch of changes, improvements, and stuff like that. I have Audio Link working. I'm struggling with Audio Link right now because it has a bunch of commented out code from Udon Sharp, and now I have to convert everything to C Sharp. And I'm looking at all this stuff, and I'm having a difficult time getting, the Audio Link controller and everything. Like stupid shit like that. Same things. Whenever you start a project, it's always like this. It's like really insurmountable. It's like, you can't walk until you can stand. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I think I actually have it at a point right now where every Friday night at 9 p.m. Central Standard, you have to have a key. It's invite only in order to be able to go there. I run events, and I'm going to continue to run events every Friday to build momentum around the idea that there's this thing. And then we come back to VRChat. Because the plan isn't to compete with VRChat. The plan is to be something that's a little bit different, that's outside, that is a unique thing, and then work, within the confines of like, because I don't want to try to compete with VRChat. I want to make something different.
Merge the two is what you're trying to say. You're
Yeah.
trying to slide one into the other one so they interlock like a puzzle piece. I got you. Understand where you're coming
Yeah.
from.
Not
Now I
necessarily a
understand.
puzzle piece, but two things sitting next to each other, and like, if you want to be able to go here, you have to know someone who knows someone. It's like, really exclusive, party place, and then you run one event and then you go back to VRChat. Like there's no like VRChat's dead. I don't want to hear anybody say that. I don't want VRChat to die. There is no, you know what I mean? Like it's always like when Chill Out VR was coming out, it was like that, and it was like I think I've learned a lot over the years about why that's just dumb anyway. The goal now shouldn't be to kill VRChat, which is dumb. Nobody wants that. Nobody should want that. Is to provide something of value. That's all. That's it. Something different. Right?
I have noticed during those times, like when people are saying when Chill Out VR was getting momentum during the EAC thing, a lot of people would
Yeah.
say they wanted it to disappear, but at the end they just still came back to VRChat. And I
No.
think what kind of started what I think is people are becoming a lot more multi-platform, I guess is a way to put it. They'll be in VRChat at home, they'll go to Chill Out or go to Resonate, and they come back. Like there's some events from groups that run stuff here, those over in Resonate for an example of that.
Yeah. Well, there's a weird situation that social VR has been in for a while. I've noted it many times in the past. Is that see, I'm an old game dev, and I've worked in the industry for a long time. I've worked with AAA and indie and all kinds of stuff, right? And I've been around the block in terms of that. And the people that I've worked with in the AAA industry were extremely talented, super amazing, like talented people. And here's the problem: none of them understand. So there's this gap where all of the really seasoned devs that I've known over the years, they don't understand social VR. They don't even get it. They don't understand it at all. They don't see value in it. They get motion sickness within 5 minutes. They immediately turn it down. And you know what I mean, and just forget about it. And they don't. It's not even on their radar. There's no money in it, quote unquote. Even though it could be one of the biggest industries on the internet if done correctly and if allowed to continue to grow. I think that social VR is just a graphical upgrade for the entire internet and how we interact with each other completely from the ground up. But there's no money in it right now, guys. So there's been this really interesting gap where all of the people who would really be good at getting stuff done very quickly are not interested in the social VR space. But the people who are in the social VR space tend to work very slow. Takes 6 months, takes 2 years, takes blah blah blah. Don't have a plan, don't have, you know what I mean? And in a lot of ways, VRChat has been very lucky because usually a studio, if they were running like a standard MMO or something like that at the pace that they did, they took 7 years. Now they're working on the game quite a bit, but for the first 4 years of the game, there was basically nothing happening, and it was fraught with all kinds of terrible things, and people were taking IP addresses, and it was just a total mess all the way up until around 2020, and then things started to slowly ratchet up and get better and better. But there was a time where VRChat was basically destitute, and none of the devs that would have been able to fix that within like 6 months, if they had sat down and said, "Hey, let's make a social VR game and make it really badass." So now the only people who are in the space is VRChat, which is the closest thing to a AAA studio that we've got who are interested in the space. And then we have a bunch of solo devs. I guess I'm one of them now too, building their own little thing on the outside, right? So Chill Out VR, Resonate. Resonate is basically just Fruks messing around, like doing cool stuff. Hey, I made a new particle system, right? There's no greater vision. It tends to just be this like interesting thing that and more power to them. Hey, that's awesome. I'm kind of doing the same thing. So we've never had a chance to actually see what would happen if a seasoned development team with within the AAA space were to ever set their sights on this. And if they actually understood the culture, and if they actually understood like what makes it good and why it's good and stuff like that, it would be insane. So we've been sitting in this space for almost like a decade, where, well, like Tim Sweeney himself, John Carmack, would be able to pull a social VR platform like a bat out of hell if they were to really go at it. You know, Unreal 5 and like if Tim Sweeney ever got really serious about it, but Tim Sweeney gets motion sickness apparently. So he's not even interested at all. He's just going to stick with Fortnite. It's interesting. Yeah, it's like Fortnite is so much money, there's no reason to do a social VR platform, right? So we've been sitting in this really odd sort of gap, you know, and it's just been a really interesting ride to just kind of see it playing out that way,
Mm.
you know.
Well, one thing I will say VRChat's community has been fostering is a teaching of each other. So at least from when we've started talking with people a bit more seriously within Metaverse Degen, we've noticed a lot of people's skill levels in the platforms have been ratcheting up, especially as VRChat's been increasing tools.
Oh yeah.
So I would say,
Oh yeah.
even though AAA studios aren't putting their eyes on the platform, it is not stopping those who enjoy the platform from getting better. So
Oh yeah.
I would say here soon, you'd probably see AAA studios spawning out of the VR community itself from those who are here.
It, I think you're absolutely right, but I think it'll play out a little bit differently
Mm.
because mod communities tend to spawn some of the most influential things
Mm.
in the entire game industry, and it's very commonly the case. Some of the most popular games that we play these days right now are just mods, you know. So when you think about that, social VR as a sandbox is just a pure socializing and mod community, like at the same time. It is entirely that, right? We are absolutely getting everybody is getting better. Like avatars are getting better. Like everybody, the culture is getting a little bit more pronounced. Like everybody's figuring things out. The talent that's coming out of this space isn't really going to go into the AAA space because the AAA space right now is kind of failing. They're sort of having a lot of issues right now. They're having you know, it's a whole topic in and of itself, right? So where are they going to go? Well, they have no choice but to start their own stuff, right? Or continue to ride with VRChat because VRChat hasn't reached nearly the top of where it's going to be. I can easily imagine, you know, 2 million concurrent players in VRChat at some point in time if they can keep the game together and they don't sell it to the wrong people.
Mm.
You know, which would be the future, which would be a huge thing, right? Like all they have to do is just keep doing what they've been doing for the last year and a half, which they've been doing a lot of stuff that's really good, like the camera stuff, and they just added a dolly for the for the recording camera and stuff like that. It's just like cool features like that, and then you paywall it behind VRChat Plus so that they can actually make profit off of the game and make the game profitable. I can easily see the platform continuing to grow as people start to realize, oh, hey, this is life changing. This isn't just a regular game, but like we're actually here talking to each other. You can see my mannerisms and everything like that. Like you can see what's going on. Like so it's a really huge deal. So I think I actually might have lost my point at that point though.
We're really
It's
good at
easy to
leading
spiral
people
with
to
this.
tangents, so fair warning.
Yeah, no, I
Oh,
hear you.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Not a problem. I've noticed too that the companies that you're talking about, ouch, damn cat's in my lap. Sorry, folks. Oh God, what do you want? But I've noticed that the people in the stuff like this, because you got to realize when VR came out, it was way out before its time, before VRChat was even around. First time I come around with it, I was at Cabela's. It's a fishing, hunting, sporting store and everything else like this, and everything else. And they had one there, but you were in a round unit, and you were just shooting deer, bears, whatever like this, and that type of setup. And you put this thing on your head. I tried it. The Jesus Christ thing looked like an oversized guy. You thought this was a toaster. You should have saw the thing back then. Jesus Christ. Better off putting a motorcycle helmet and add that on top of it, but you had the helmet on backwards, and it was way in front of you. But the technology is there, and it's the companies that you least expect that's getting their hands dirty. And Disney is one of them. And they are digging into it because it's bringing people in, trying even whatever they're doing to be whatever their effects are. So their rides are, you're not standing on a ride that actually moves, but it feels like it's moving, but you got a headgear on. You're actually riding around and data like this, but you're only in a small building, so they're taking up less space and they're looking out and then everything else like this. And they've got their hands into the technology, but they're not letting it out to the public. They never have. They've been that way from day one, some of the stuff that they're making. So you give them time, they're going to step in because they're playing with it and they're dumping a lot into it and everything else like this, but they're not letting it for like people like you, me, Lion, anybody else that's got the idea that you've got. They're trying to get it where it's into their theme parks and what's going on and the things you can enjoy and stuff like this without costing them. Safety's the number one rule. You're not constantly logically look at it. You know, if you're riding a roll, you want to ride the weirdest roller coaster in your life, but you don't have to worry about any of the equipment. Something coming off a track. You're sitting still and the thing's just moving around to give you that effect. It's off the wall. It really is if you logically look at it. And they're playing with it. And wow, when I saw the whatever that, I don't know, have you seen seen the walking setup that they have?
The tiles.
They have-
Yeah.
The Imagineers
The
created
tiles.
the
Oh
tiles.
yeah. I
That
don't
guy
know. That's
that guy
crazy.
invented it is in his 60s. And he's actually puts gear on and is walking around it like he owns the world. And some young guy gets onto it and can't even do it. And he's been on VR for a long time. And you're going, what the hell? You know, it's just how you expect it. And you just, wow. And I saw the video on that and everything else like this. But it's there. The technology's there. It's just the biggest problem, to my point of view, and me and Lion have talked to it many, many times, is everybody's out to make a buck. I don't care who it is, but if you got everybody to turn around and put their heads together like what you're doing it by yourself and trying to figure it out. But if everybody put them, look at the thing that you can create, because your idea was somebody else's idea and stuff like that, but you're working on that part, he's working on another part, you're still making a paycheck and put it all together. The people there are going to go, wow, and it's weird because people will pay, just like what you just said here with your own place. They'll pay for a spot that they can do their own thing, blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. And they will take the money, no matter what it is, to have that quality time that they're looking for, no matter if it ain't too crazy, and still enjoy it. Yeah. It's just the way it goes. So more power to you. Keep it up. Don't quit. You know, every little, I've been told that all my life. Oh, that's stupid. You never do it. And all of a sudden somebody else does it and you're going, wait a minute. I thought I was told I was a complete idiot. I get that all the time. And that can't be done. There is no word can't. It's just how you're scared of it and don't want to step in it. That's pretty much the situation. So
it's just figuring
keep it
out
up.
how. Figuring out
and
how. Yeah.
Figuring out the how. The how's the biggest crapper that you can ever play in. And you're doing it. And more power to you, Castle. Go for it. Because I was always told, because, Lion told me the same, you know what server system you would have to have and the backing you would have to have? Are you sure? Problem is, you're doing it. When Lion told me that, because that was I had that idea. Why can't they can do it in a movie? Don't get me wrong, a movie's a movie, but it's there. You put the word out for everybody else to put their thinking caps on and let's put it into gear, and that's what Ready Player One did for you. Why can't it be done? There's no can't. It's just do. It just do.
Yeah. So on that, my goal with what I'm doing currently with the Darknet is to have the most duct-taped, simple, I can build my own social VR experience and run events outside of VRChat, like kit. Like that's my goal, is to have this like thing where it's like, okay, download this, download that, to follow these 15 steps. It will be like 15 steps, but like, and you gotta get them all right. But like, if you know what you're doing, you can go through it all. and then you can like, hey, there's this cool event that we're running for club such and such, and we're using our own platform over here, and we got it up on Steam and everything like that. I'm trying to provide people with a ground level, like it only costs $50 a month for a server that can hold 200 players, which is a big deal if you can get 200 people to show up to your event in a single lobby. And like, oh my god, an 80 player lobby is amazing. Like if we can get some kind of a system where it's like it's kind of common that people kind of have their own thing going on outside of VRChat and like stuff like that, and it's easy and cheap and stuff like, then the idea will catch on. I think so. And then it'll be necessary for us to figure out how to federate and figure out how to, like, hey, let's make a collaboration between this community that's doing this over here, and then we portal together. So like you walk through a doorway and you switch games, like the one game turns off and the other game turns on, and now you're on the other side. Your avatar is still the same because it's being pulled from a decentralized location. So my goal right now is to make it so that it isn't that crazy to have your own platform, that it's actually kind of easy.
Oh wow.
If I can pull it off. I think I can. But I'm pretty sure I can. I just gotta work on it a lot. That's all.
Cool. So I have a one question for you. Where did the idea for like this Federation Darknet that you're working on, where did it come from initially? Oh, well, the last time I saw you here, Novid, was October.
Yeah, absolutely. That ghost ship was definitely something, to say the least. But we're here now.
Here to tell you something amazing. Right now, PJKT application is open until May 12th. So if you go right down the description, which will give you to a Discord, discord.gg/PJKT. You'll have all the information you need to sign up for your community, your creators. We're open to communities, creators, and people are building things, and content creators as well. Everything is right down in the Discord, right for you. What else do we have here? What is PJKT, Novid?
Well, PJKT is a virtual convention here in VRChat that holds many different types of events within Project Fest, from film showcases with Project Lens, from developer talks with Project Inc., as well as many live performances and many different events held by the community through our events applications forms as well. It'll also be down in that Discord, discord.gg/PJKT. So, of course, make sure to go check it out.
Most definitely. And PJKT this year is going to be June 27th through July 7th. So mark it down in your calendars. We'd love to see you there. See you this summer, folks.
So at first I was kind of, I wasn't really planning on being able to actually pull it off. But my friend Dooley, who is a, very seasoned, very seasoned developer within this social VR space. This is a guy who knows his stuff. Like he understands the culture and he understands the tech, which are you have to have both. You can't have one and not the other, right? And he started working on Basis, and now Basis is a really interesting framework. It's not meant to be a platform. It's meant to be a framework from which then you can build on top of it. And it's open source, so you can do anything you want. And as soon as I found out that he was doing that, I was like, okay, now it's time to start thinking about, running my own thing and seeing what it'll actually take and pull it off, right? So I'm in the early stages of that right now. And yeah, I think I might have lost the question at that point.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Oh, I asked where did this federated darknet come from? This whole idea you're working on.
Well, the federated thing is just going to be a natural aspect. That's just human nature. Humans are going to do that. Like if one person does this and then another person starts to follow within the same footsteps because the first one is open source and everybody else can just look at it, and then naturally you're going to end up with communities that get along because they are friends in VRChat, and people like to clump together. They like to network. We're networkers. Humans love to network. So a federated system would be a natural would just be a natural aspect of something like what I'm talking about.
Mm.
So I just assume that that's going to be the thing, and maybe I'll be a part of like developing a means for a federated system to actually function. But that's like getting ahead of myself. Look, right now we just need it to work in the first place, right? So,
I can
but
understand.
I am thinking, yeah, I am thinking about it. I'm thinking like, okay, so if this happened, then this happened, then we could just boom. You got your fire, you got your kindling. Let's go.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. From the sounds of some of the stuff you said earlier, it sounds like you may have a working prototype or something you are doing stuff in.
Yeah, we can. It's literally up right now. Yeah, I don't recommend we go there, but like, because you don't have your avatars. It's completely new. And it's in early stages right now. But I had just literally, I did some work on it for the last 3 days, trying to get, yeah, we can go there. There's a venue there that doesn't exist in VRChat at the moment. I have the latest version of the castle,
Oh wow.
which is the club that I built in 2020. The latest version of it, which is built to hold 160 players, because that's where I capped the server.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's there now. Yeah, Friday at 9 p.m. Central Standard. That's I want it ingrained. People know, okay, we're gonna bring one DJ, and we're gonna get people together, and we're gonna every Friday night, and we're gonna enjoy it for like a little bit, and then we're gonna go back to VRChat after that.
Okay.
And I just wanna, yeah, I'm trying to build momentum the slow way. Like, here we go, we build up a little bit, we get this, and that, and then I'm gonna go in real heavy with all new systems and restructuring of everything. I'm just waiting for full body IK to be a little bit better. Oh, I mean a lot better. Full body IK is a mess at the moment, but it takes a while for that to develop. Still a very early project. Everything's very early. It's very ground level.
Oh, so I will ask you this.
Cass,
Oh, hold that thought.
go ahead, Warren. You had the floor.
The earlier stages of this platform, what was it like when you first saw it go up live for you after putting a bunch of time into it?
Unity 6 is a monster compared to 2022.
Oh.
Unified render pipeline. Oh my god. Yeah, performance. You can just put dynamic lights everywhere and stuff. It's fucking insane. Sorry, I don't know if we're allowed to say F.
Go right the fuck ahead. Don't worry about it.
Fuck, no
Okay,
problem. We don't give a flying fuck.
All right, fucking thanks. So yeah, like, yeah, so like, shit, I lost it. I lost it all the fucks.
It's so good. I think we may have run out of fucks, but it's okay. We can get more.
We ran out of fucks.
We ran out of the fucks.
I had
man.
a really good point.
The question was, what was it like for you seeing the project go live for the first time, like as a visitable location, like as a game, whatnot?
It was really interesting. I jumped the gun and everything. It was a beautiful, it was a beautiful failure. So there was a lot of lessons to be learned, and I had to learn them all in one night. So that was a pretty cool one. So yeah, I do have my failures, trust me. But the thing is, though, is we did get a lobby of about 30 or 40 people in there.
Oh wow!
Right, and people were enjoying it, but the problem is that the audio link sound source was blaring at full fucking volume because there was a bug with because AV Pro video has like some kind of a weird thing, and then we try to get audio link to work with that, and then there needs to be a sound source to grab spectrum data. I don't know if any of this stuff sounds like English, but once you grab the spectrum data, then you can make the lights flicker on and off based on whatever. But that sound source was blaring at full volume. Not only that, but when people spawned into the world, there wasn't enough room around the spawn point because they were spawning in a little tiny elevator like area, and they are place based, and they would just fall through the world. So there was people spawning and they were falling. We still had 40 people in the lobby though, but like there were just people like that. And then there was another thing that I wasn't ready for, which really caught me off guard, and I'm not even 100% sure if it's accurate. Something happened where people were still loading the old version on Steam, and like they were going to the wrong IP address. So we could have probably had, a full like 60 to 80 player lobby. So I made this thing, and I made a flyer, and I got like 6 DJs, and we were ready for it, man. We were ready for it. I jumped the gun so hard, it was it was pretty hilarious. We were making fun of I was making fun of myself. Like everybody was making. We were all joking about it. But yeah, I could have probably picked something a little bit smaller scale for our first ever event. So Darknet 1 was a complete interesting experience. I mean, some of the conversations we were having, it was like, okay, only 15 people fell through the world. All right, guys, progress. Like,
Oh wow.
it was so bad. It was so funny. It was so bad. But at the same time, I was like, oh man, there are people like, if you update on Steam, give it plenty of time for people to actually get the update. So you can't update the game and then immediately expect everyone to get the latest, like to get like the update button. I guess. Right? I thought it was always instantaneous for everyone, but it does, I guess, need to propagate over or something. So people were running the old version, and it was connecting the wrong IP, and then we get that, and it was, man.
Cool.
And then the sound source was blaringly loud, so nobody can adjust it because it wasn't on the volume controls, because it was an audio link sound
wow.
source. So weird.
How did you learn from that with the next one, Mask? Or did you run a next one after the first one?
Oh, I sat down with a friend of mine, Techanon. We went through and fixed the audio link stuff, and the sound source is fine now. I've actually fixed all of the immediate like UX issues that it currently has. I make sure that there's plenty of space for people to spawn in the spawn room and everything like that, because I guess play spacing has a pretty big influence on that. And now things are pretty smooth. It's pretty butter. Like I think the next Darknet is actually going to be pretty nice. Like, you have your sound and volume control and everything like that. It's bare bones, but you can see the future, and you can be like, okay, this is really bare bones. It's missing a lot of features. However, it's working, and the DJ is really good. And we got these light controls where we could turn the lights on and off. The audio link controller is still messing with me, so maybe next week I'll have that. But like, yeah, we're getting there. It's like it's like bending steel, but it's happening. Yeah, if you want, I can give you guys keys. You can see for yourself, like, for the next event.
That'd be dope. We'd love to come see what you're
That'd be-
working on.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that'd
Yeah,
be
that would-
great to see.
It's invite only. It is marked as an 18+ game, like on Steam.
Oh, that means I'm screwed. I'm only 3.5 years old. I can't go.
Raptor, you're old enough to remember
damn it.
Caesar.
Pretty much, yes. That's what he keeps telling people.
Oh.
Boy.
Sheesh.
I came over on the Mayflower too and fell off the boat and landed on the rock. Yeah, but hey, I'm still standing there. When am I gonna get off this rock? Sorry, fool. We already discovered the rest of it. Yeah, but my question is towards you: what kind of operating system that you have in real life to run it? Because you got mainframes and you got servers. Are you?
The servers run off
Is your
Linux.
system? Okay, but
The
I
server
got
runs
that.
on
But
Linux.
are you? You're running it, it's running, but are you running it out from somewhere other source, or do you have one sitting in? Yeah, I got this big, huge fucking thing
No.
standing
Oh
in
no.
the corner.
I'm doing I'm renting a server for $50 a month.
Oh,
I
okay.
forget what is. I can't remember the name of the company, but like, yeah, I don't have a box sitting in my room or something like that. That's actually not even good. Like that's terrible. Like, for optics and stuff like that. No, I just have a server that just runs, and on a remote location. I log into it, get the IP address, make sure everything's hooked up, run all the stuff that I need to so that it's got the server going, make sure that it's unique to Darknet and Basis servers don't work, Basis clients don't run it too. And, it's just simple stuff like that. And then now I have like a little bit of an overhead for like file storage. It's not that much though. It's like $50 to $75, and you can have your own social VR platform. It's honestly, if you really think about it, that's pretty fucking good. Like, there's something there. Trust me, there's value there. Like $75, and you can run this thing that has like 160 players. Man, just think about that, right?
That is pretty
And no
wild.
limitations. Yeah. No limitations in terms of like what you can actually you can restructure things however you want. You can do it. Just it's the same thing as like making an indie game at that point, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's a really good deal, honestly. It really is, and I think people will see that.
Hmm. So I have a question for you, since you said earlier you started this whole project on like clubbing with earlier on. At what point did this all change from like a club environment to what it has grown now, what you're telling us about?
The first castle map. So so actually it started with the Zombie Doll Lounge. I added a button for a specific community to be able to put their logo up because they would run events in the Zombie Doll Lounge regularly, and they just wanted to have their logo up in the world. So I began working on figuring out how to like deserialize the Boolean so that the deserialization runs on everything, and make sure that the logo is there every time somebody joins the world, and just like simple stuff like that, right? And like after a while, it was like, well, why don't I have a bunch of logos? Why don't I have an entire wall of logos of different people who run events and stuff like that, right? And then it just keeps going. It's like, well, why don't I just add another club? Okay, so there's another club over here. Now we got this wall of things, so you can put your logo up in this place, or you can put your logo up in that place, and it just sort of naturally happened on its own. It was very organic. It was just almost like maybe I'm probably not the only one who's even close to being the only one doing this. It's just that people are approaching it from different ways.
Mm.
Because I think it's very, I mean, like paying on a Patreon so that you can have your logo in the world is a no-brainer, right? Like, yeah, people will like that. People get their own areas now too. They can have their own custom like venues, and it's just naturally it's just gonna happen. It's just snowballs in its own direction. It's very, if you don't go against the grain, like, and you just look at what people want, you're gonna probably arrive kind of at a similar situation to me anyway. You know, if you just kind of let it happen on its own, and it will. People want to have their own. Can I have my own spawn location, right? And then naturally that sort of steps into, well, if I can have my own spawn location, can I customize my own spawn location? Because that would be really cool. And then it's like, okay, so here's an in-game world editor. Now you can put the couches and chairs and video screens. Oh wait, now I can just run events out of my own spawn location. Okay, so now all of the spawn locations are also venues, in code, and now you can run a house party anytime you want. Put a DJ booth in the corner over there. It's like you're playing The Sims, but everybody is the Sim. We are the Sims. It just happens on its own. If you just look at like what would be the next upgrade, you will eventually kind of arrive at the same thing. I think. You know.
Wow. What drives you to work on all this, Mask, to keep on going and keep it alive?
Well, it's life changing. It's been amazing. I can't even tell you how many people I talk to on a daily basis. Um, the people I meet, it's insane. I've worked with incredibly talented people, so many communities, and each of the communities has had really big impacts on people's lives. Sorry, misty eyed. I guess I hate that. So
Sorry.
the communities definitely have had a really big effect on people's lives. Like, so it's a really it's so valuable for us. So naturally, I think it's just gonna drive. More and more people are gonna keep finding it. Are gonna be like, are gonna come here. Not here, but like to social VR. Yeah, here too probably. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Sorry to get you all misty-eyed. It wasn't the intent.
It's just it always freaking
Hold on,
happens,
I got a
and I have
Kleenex
to.
in my coat pocket. I'll get it for you. Hold on just a second.
It always
You want a
happens when I
snot
talk
rack
about this
or a
stuff.
tissue?
Snot rack. The hell is that?
That's a
snot?
hanky. That's what if you
Oh,
know
snot rag.
it's not rag. The handkerchief that most
Oh,
people. My
rag.
dad
I
can't.
heard rack. Okay, rag.
Rack.
Snot
No,
rag.
no, not a rack. No,
I,
no. What the hell you blow it on your? Wait a minute. What kind of fucking stuff do you blow your nose on? What the hell?
Well, no, it's never been a rack before.
Oh, God. My English needs work on. Sorry, I speak foreign language from foreign planet that don't come here very often. I'm changing my avatar to an alien. That's what it
Another
is. I've just
planet,
got to
huh?
fix it. Yeah, another planet. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's wild.
A question I do have for you is, did you have all of this knowledge to work on all this before coming into VRChat, or was this something you developed over time?
So I've learned a heck of a lot, so it'd be weird for me to say that I had pre-knowledge, but I worked on all kinds of games in the past. Like I already have a game development background, so it wasn't as hard for me to pick things up, but I also wasn't really much of a programmer. Now I'm a fucking programmer. I program all the time, every day. Like I'm just opening up. C sharp and everything like that. I mean, I did a little bit of C sharp when I worked at Digital Extremes, and I did C sharp there because that's what they use for their editor. They don't have blueprints or whatever in the same way that the regular Unreal Engine has. They have like an older version of the Unreal Engine that they've been developed separately than Epic. Um, and stuff like that. But mostly I was just a level designer, like with minor scripting experience in terms of like what it takes to spawn monsters, get them to run the nodes, play animations, die, blow up, cause explosions. That kind of stuff was always kind of where I was at. Like, and then in some cases I wouldn't do any scripting at all. It was just pure level design. Like, when I worked on Black Ops, for example, Call of Duty, it was like you just put a crate here, make sure the lines of sight, and stuff like that. It was all very much just level design. So most of my background came from level design. But level designers tend to be sort of like you have to be kind of a jack of all trades. If you're a level designer in the game industry for a long period of time, you have to understand like all of these different things and how they all come together. I think uh, there was an old quote from Cliff Bleszinski. I don't know if you know who that is. Was said that the level designer is where the rubber meets the road, right? So I kind of had I had a kind of a lot of different um like I had my hands kind of like in a lot of different things because I always have to be the guy who kind of duct tapes everything together and make it work and get it done and so I did have a pretty good background, but then I didn't really have any Unity experience.
Hmm.
Because I primarily worked with Unreal and id Tech, for the most time, and in Source. I did a lot of stuff in Source, and if I wasn't with the mod communities for like Bethesda's games and Fallout or things like that, but so I had a little bit, but like once I started working here, I ended up learning a lot more. And also too, social VR, you have to understand social VR in order to work on social VR. So I don't know. It's a difficult question to answer, because I feel like I'm a different person than I was like 7 years ago. I'm just completely different. This game has changed me completely.
Oh, really? So, how different is the two worlds between development and social VR versus the development you're used to? Are they stark contrast between the two, or are they kind of blend a little?
Oh, stark. Stark differences. A single player game like Subnautica, which you're concerned about the player finding loot and stuff like that, right? Like all of the concerns like a competitive first person shooter, right? Like it's apples and oranges. You have a completely different situation when you work on a social game. It's more about the socializing, but then how do you maximize on that? Whereas like if you were building something in Call of Duty, you're more concerned about sightlines and making sure that there's the right amount of space between these different areas so that people can, slice the pie without feeling awkward, or, make sure that certain choke points, which, you know, things that you really have to design and are extremely core and fundamental for, like, if you were to look at something like Overwatch. Never worked on Overwatch, all the game, but, like, you can see like things like that, like where there's like doorways that are purposefully built this specific way that prevents players from going through without having to eliminate the other team first, and things like that, right? Which then creates this sort of like interesting back and forth. But how do you apply and maximize in those same ways you do for those kinds of games? You have to apply and maximize for those kinds of things in a social setting. And a social setting is a completely different can of worms, right? Like, we're not thinking of choke points. Well, not necessarily. Maybe we are. Because if you have too many connections to a specific location, well, people will spread out more. And how is that a good thing for social VR? Maybe you have a strategy in terms of reducing performance overhead in an 80-player lobby by separating the players, right? So there's things like that, because we have tons of very poor avatars. So if there are too many people in one location, right? So there's a lot of different design concepts that you have to really approach this entire thing from a completely different perspective in terms of like, what are the goals of the game, and what are you trying to get people, and how are you trying to get people to behave. It's not as clean cut as the stuff that we've been doing since the 1990s with choke points and Team Fortress 2 or something like that, right? Like, we're doing things differently here. So I remember somebody would describe to me like the rules that you would have to have in order to build a comfy world, and make sure that there's actually like steps involved with like making sure that the pillows are in the right spot. It feels like you can still escape if you need to, so it's not trapped, right? Like, just the right amount of like connections to make that comfy area feel really comfy, right? So like, I can go here, I can feel safe, I'm able to look down and I can see where everybody is, like a cat or something, right? And sometimes, you build those kinds of things, you build that intentionally for those types of people to be able to feel at ease within your comfy world. Because if you can't make people feel comfortable in a comfy world, then you failed, right? And if you allow everybody to stand in another room while the DJ is playing in an empty dance floor, you messed up, right? Like, you want the DJ to feel like everybody's there in front of the DJ, right? So you have different constraints for the different styles of worlds and everything like that. Like, if you're building for this, then you want to follow these criteria, and if you build for this, you want to follow those types of criteria, and then figuring out how all of that comes together is a whole other can of worms, right? So, and everything, yeah, it all does come together. It's fairly complex, and yeah, it is pretty different from anything that I've worked on in the past,
I can imagine. I want to ask a bit of a layered question as well, just because I'm quite interested. What is it that got you into making video games, and are you able to play them now and enjoy them?
Ah,
I like asking people like you or like contractors, like,
that's a good
can
one.
you go into a house
That's a good
and be
question.
able to see the house for a house, or do you notice the banister being slightly off over in the corner?
That's a good question.
Because he's done it to me, because this kind of stuff that I do. Not in VR, but in real life, you got certain people that can't. I see his point and everything else like this, but he'll ask, and I have to stop back and go, what? Huh? Because in your knowledge, compared to what I can do and what you do or what Line does in real life, and try to explain it, it's like him trying to help me. I'm a car buff. I can turn a wrench. I can pull all that kind of shit. But once you get into VR, being my age and everything else like this, he's over here yelling, He's not really yelling at me, but you can hear the frustration in his voice start to climb. And I don't blame him one bit. And I'm going, what? And when you have dyslexia, it's even a harder situation because I've got one hell of a fucking imagination. And if I had the ability to put what I have up here down and do what I wanted to do, I'd go a long ways. But you have that one situation where your fingers are tied or your hands are tied. And yeah. I'll say I feel sorry for him sometimes when he asks me, and then when I have to turn around and when I you see it's on the other foot, when it's on the other foot, because I helped him out with his car. He had a problem with his car, and he took a picture of his car, and I picked out the problem, what it might have been, and he had it fixed. But if you don't know nothing about cars, we're all blind. Think about it. It's the same situation in here.
Yeah.
I would like to hear your thoughts on all that. Like, what got you into gaming, and can you play video games without seeing, having your knowledge show through immediately, I guess is the way to put it.
In other words, it's like somebody making a fucking movie going, you know that part right there? I did that, and God, that pieces of shit. That's a piece of shit. Why'd they put that in there? Yeah, I know where he's going with it. So what's your point of view in it?
So I was always a gamer for like the longest time. Played the first Zelda, played, back in the day, gold cartridge. You get the old stuff like the first NES, but I also played some stuff that was in the old Atari and everything like that. But I'd look at the code and it was, like you'd be able to buy like a magazine and then you could program the game. They'd give you the code and then you just got to type these lines of, it was weird stuff like that, right? And like you were able to play a game like really, really old stuff. So I've been a gamer for a long period of time, but I never really got into development or level design until I started playing Doom. And that was the kicker. So like once I got into that, I started learning about like how to make like a really good Doom experience, and was really passionate about Doom level design for a really long time, which then turned into Quake and then Unreal, and then and I build levels for all kinds of stuff, and it just kept going from there. Actually, I have a full Doom 2 episode that I developed with my friend. That is an official expansion for Doom 2. It's called No Rest for the Living. That's wow. The first level of the game. We were experimenting with modern level design techniques versus old school level design, and one of the things that I wanted to do was the deep personification of the game developer within the AAA space was something that I view as being a negative. You can't really put yourself into the game. You can't really take credit for that thing because there's just so many people working on all the different things. But back in the day, in the 1990s and early 2000s, you could slap your name in a secret. You could be like, Level Lord was here, right? And that was like a really interesting thing to me, like, because that shows ownership, that shows passion. But when you have a very corporate environment, which is a big problem in the AAA space, you lose all that personal stuff because you if you're working on Call of Duty, they don't really want you doing shit like that. They don't want you putting a little room that has your name on it, right? Like, but that's kind of like a loss overall because you sort of lose the connection with the people who are actually building the game, and then it just becomes about whoever that guy is on the stage that's trying to promote it, right? Like, it's a little bit different. You sort of lose that, and that disconnect was kind of something that eroded for a really, really long time. So and this is how I felt, when I was working on No Rest for the Living. I was like, we should do that again, but we should do it in a way that all of the stuff that we learned in terms of modern flow and bringing, and having the player not get lost and be able to like do that. Let's create kind of a weird magnum opus of like modern, old and new. So I put my name in the first secret. If you go through here and you do all this and you follow all the clues, it'll say the castle was here, right? And I did this as well when I was working on when I did the Condition Zero deleted scenes. I put the castle was here secret in those levels as well, and they're just like little things, little Easter eggs, right? And I feel like that is something that we shouldn't discourage. We should let people put Easter eggs. People love that stuff, and it also shows that, hey, I'm proud enough of this that I would put my name on it, right? So like there's kind of like there's an aspect there. So that's what I did when I was working on that. It was I'm very much against if you take the human element out of game development, then you kind of lose a big aspect of the expression.
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of why I did that. Now, when it comes to this, like I mean, it's just VRChat squared, right? You go to somebody's club, you're going to their club, right? You'd be like, you're not going to corporate club 059. You know what I mean? It's not like no, you're going to a place where there's a community, and the community owners are all people that have their opinions, and you go and you meet them and you hang out and you enjoy that environment, and then you keep coming back because you like that space, and you could say, hey, and you make friends and everything like that. There's like VRChat is the least dehumanizing thing I think I've ever seen in my life.
Oh.
Yeah.
Would you mind elaborating a little, may I ask?
I don't know how much deeper we can go on that. Bringing a personal element is key to generating value. I believe that in the future, one of the only bits of currency that we will have is who we are. Because as technology gets better and we end up in some kind of, future like technocratic society, which is, inevitable because technology keeps getting better. It's like, hey, why don't we just automate this? Hey, why don't we just automate this? 5,000 people. Hey, why don't we just automate this? And like 10,000 people. Hey, why don't we just... So like we're going to end up in some kind of a technocratic society where we're going to be bombarded by AI, and nobody's going to really care about AI, right? Like, because AI doesn't have that same value, or does it? Uh-oh, we're going to have a big discussion to have there. And then, well, why does this AI's opinion matter more than this person's in terms of like what, what this painting means, or like what do they think of the Mona Lisa, right? Well, it's this individual that you like and they will then garner a following because people agree with that sentiment, right? So humanity is kind of the last currency after everything is automated, right? Like, what else is there? It's a weird one, right? So I feel like we're able to kind of start getting towards that, and that is discussed a little bit in Ready Player One. The Oasis is described as an anthropocentric environment. So humans, anthropocentric is the center of the world, the center of the universe, right? So like as we continue to get more and more tech, as technology continues to develop further and further, everything kind of just becomes noise, and the only thing that's there are the humans, right? So you end up in a pretty interesting situation where like dehumanization is really, really not on the agenda. We shouldn't be doing that, either by self or to others. Yeah. So that's the further elaboration on that.
Well, thank you for
But
that.
I mean, that goes a lot further. Yeah, that goes a lot further than just putting your name on a wall in a hallway in a Doom map. Yeah.
Now to the second part of the question: can you play video games normally as a gamer?
So, as a game developer, for the longest time, I worked on a lot of single-player games over the years. I couldn't do it anymore. It's very difficult unless the game is of absurdly high quality. The last first-person shooter that I played all the way through was probably Half-Life 2. Because whenever I look at... No, Doom Eternal. Um, when I look at how, like, if you work for a AAA studio and then you play a game developed by a AAA studio, you start to see the cracks and you're like, oh, I see that trigger there. They probably crunched on this for like a weekend straight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you start kind of seeing the pain underneath, and yeah, it kind of takes me out of the immersion. So like if I play a, a rudimentarily developed game that's like a linear first-person shooter or something like that. And this was true 10 years ago, even before VRChat. I start really, ooh, yeah, okay, I kind of see this. The monster doesn't take any damage right now. I kind of start understanding like why this is happening and why that's happening. Kind of ruined the whole thing for me. So I stopped being a gamer and started being more someone who just works on games, because working on games is kind of a game in and of itself. You like playing puzzle games? Learn to program. You'll be playing a puzzle game infinitely. It might be frustrating. You might be looking for bugs every once in a while or every time you do anything. But yeah. So the energy that we put into playing games can be also put into developing things too. Which further enhances the idea of having some kind of a technocratic or technocratic system for people to work with, because when we play games, we're expending energy. By no means is it not work, but we're enjoying it, right? Because of how it's set up, right? Well, you can make things that are actually like real world tasks work the same way if you were to do things a certain way. You just encourage those kinds of behaviors, right? You can't do that unless you're in a technocratic environment. Like, for example, if you were to make it so that there was a scoreboard in the middle of the city, in New York City, and you can accurately track everybody who's picking up trash off the streets, and then they would get score, and then it would turn into a payout. They'd be able to make money. You have automatically just made a video game that's a real life thing, right? People will pick up trash, and they will enjoy it. They won't in that environment. People will actually enjoy that, right? So like picking up trash is usually a giant nightmare, but like now you have this, like, they get to see the number go up, and then you could do all the same things that we do with video game design to encourage behaviors in real life, and people will actually do that. It's kind of wacky, but like it's absolutely the case. So I lost my point again.
So good. The initial.
When he said, wait a minute. When he said that, the first thing that came to my mind is, okay, you're picking up trash. Can you imagine somebody wiping asses for a living? I enjoy doing this. This is so much fun. Why is that? Because I do it on a video game. I'm doing it for real. Oh my god.
You wanna make wiping asses fun? Put loot boxes in it.
Oh no!
I gotta get the shit off the window. My child shit on the window again.
Man, the fucking nursing home loot box add-on is crazy.
We're laughing right now, but yeah, it's gonna happen. We'll figure it out eventually. People will.
Eventually, I like how long he's gotta play in that one. I ain't playing in that. No. What the hell did Fred have for lunch, man? Because it's lingering here for hours.
This loose box has a 10% of finding court.
Hey, look at that. He had rice, too, with it. I can tell. How do you know? Because it looks like it's moving. Yeah.
Oh,
right.
just imagine the thing. I was wiping someone's ass, and I got a fucking gold bar, man. It's worth $45,000. And like they post about it. They post the gold bar on Twitter, and everybody's like, what the hell, man? I'm gonna wipe asses too now. Like,
well, yeah, because I want that
Everyone's ass is
$40,000 gold bar. Yeah, I got
I
you.
don't.
wipes everything.
I don't know who I feel bad for more in that situation: the one who finds the gold bar, or the one who has to have the gold bar in them to be the loot box.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right,
Oh,
Frank,
wow.
just bend over, take a deep breath. You're gonna be the loot box today. It's okay.
It's okay. Somebody will come by and wipe your ass and get that gold bar. He just wants that gold bar.
He just
And
wants the gold bar.
You know what sucks? I've had 20 people wipe my ass today and no gold bar. No gold bar.
Yeah, people are complaining about it, and then there's gonna be people hanging outside of Taco Bell's. You know what I mean? And they're gonna be like, "Hey, bro,
Yeah.
how you doing?"
Can I wipe your ass for the gold bar?
Yeah.
I want to wipe your ass for that gold bar. I haven't even taken a crap or ate my food yet, but you want the gold bar. Jesus Christ. Hey, I'm following that guy. Why? Because he ate 6 tacos, man. I'm chasing him down.
Bro, yeah. You ordered 6 tacos, man. Gold
six
That's pay dirt right there.
Yeah. I'm following him around. How do you know that? Because he ordered the big enchilada, and he's going with a whole bunch. I wonder where he's going. I'm following him. It'd be like a guy I used to know that used to go to the dog races, and I go, "How do you pick your dogs?" Well, I always pick the one that does his business before the race.
Oh.
What? Are you serious? And he go, "Yeah, that's the way he used to pick his horse for the dog for the horse race, the dog
They don't
races."
have to run as hard. Yep.
Yeah. I'm going, my God.
Oh man! And then they start selling the loot boxes, so it's pay to win. It's like
Pay to win. Yeah,
is pay to win now, and then
I gotta pay to win.
Just
to
wait
watch
till
the shit
Jerry's
bar
or
come
some
out.
fucking jeweler company gets involved with the fucking loot boxes.
Hey, did you see that?
God.
He shit out of 40,000, but the other SOB shot out a $20 million diamond out of his butt.
Yeah, right. Oh man, that's what the
That thing will
diamond
cut
was.
glass
All
and
right.
stink for weeks. We're actually using him to fucking do stuff today. Wow. Hey, Jim, what'd you work today? I don't know, but I had Taco Bell. How many? How many
So
did
there's
you
hope.
eat? How many did you eat, buddy? Because I'm following you. Because I need that. I need that goodie. Yeah, walking around with a bag behind him. Go ahead, just let it go. It's all yours.
It just shows that humans are just as are susceptible to the paperclip scenario that AI is. You create a system that encourages behavior, people will find ways to min-max that behavior, exactly like we do with video games, but in real life, right? Same exact thing if you give an AI the goal of making paper clips, and it doesn't have anything else, it'll eventually create a fusion engine with a laser cannon and start turning asteroids and people into paper clips. So you don't really want to go that way. Because it it just encourages so like encouraging behavior is one of our primary functions in society, apparently, as technology continues to go and go. Oh boy.
So I do have a question for you as well, kind of getting off the whole loot box conversation that we just diverted into.
We can't get the.
Where did the idea for the VRU Oasis come from, and what moment did it feel real to you, or feel like it was coming to a faster fruition than you expected?
It's been years. It hasn't been that fast. So the first castle map, when I had the 2 venues, that was my first idea, was sort of like that. Like I said, it sort of organically kind of happened on its own, because I just sort of followed, okay, well, if I do this, okay, that worked. Well, what if I do it again? Okay, that worked. And what if I do it more? All right. Okay, that worked. Okay, let's just do it even more. Okay, it's still working. Okay, all right. Okay, it's kind of capping off a little bit now. All right, let's think about things a little bit differently, but do it again, but from a different angle. So
let me ask the question a little better then.
I don't know.
The name for the VRU Oasis. My question was worded horribly.
Oh, okay. So.
Oh shit.
So let's see. Let me think. the Oasis is inspired by Ready Player One.
Mm.
It's the VRU Oasis, not just the Oasis. But so it's very much inspired by that. But when was the first time that I felt that the Oasis is real? It was before the Oasis existed. It was running events in the castle and seeing how that kind of shaped things, and all of the human stories that kind of went with all of that. The stupid stuff like letting it get to your head because there's so many people. Like VRChat's kind of a it's a very easy way to lose track of not becoming an egotistical idiot. So you learn that, but because there's just people everywhere. So like when you run a good event, everybody's congratulates you. If you let that shit get to your head though, it's poison. You gotta be careful. But so like it felt real back during those days when I was starting to just kind of get used to really taking it somewhat seriously, and then it just kept going from there. But like, man, I don't know. It's been so many nights. Like the Oasis right now, like we have like a couple of events going on tonight, like 7 days a week. There's at least like 2 events. Every once in a while we'll miss a day, but like it's an extremely active world. Oasis 2 is crushing the numbers of the first Oasis now too. It's only like since August, like 6 months. Am I doing my math correctly? So like 7 months now, or it's something like that, right? Well, it's already at almost half the visits and general traffic of the first Oasis 2 years in, almost 3 years.
Wow.
So like, yeah. So this place is absolutely crushing the first place, and yeah, and it's probably going to spawn something that's even more. Well, it's very likely because if I continue doing this, it's going to spawn something that one more tier up where it can actually meet the vision that it needs to be. The in-game world editor isn't using pastebin for hell, you know what I mean? Like actually have like proper persistence and stuff like that, which I can't do that here in VRChat because the persistence that they implemented is useless for me. It doesn't work for what I need. But I'm a special case situation. So I don't know if even I don't even know what it's going to be like. I don't know if I even really understand how real it is yet, or if it's just going to be something that kind of disappears in a couple of years. I don't know. It can go either way. So, but it was a really interesting experience once I first started running the castle. Once I started running the castle, I I I saw so many people every night, and it just kept going. It was like that with the Zombie Doll Lounge, but it wasn't the same because now it was more of a formal. Here's my place. I named it after myself. Like, here we go. Like, let's get these DJs, and we'd do 4 nights. We'd have 4 to 8 DJs every night for 4 days a week. And we kept going with it for a really long time, and accrued a lot of interesting experiences. Met so many people. And that's probably when things started to feel real, and then it just kept going from there. So I don't know what's next. I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. So
Oh.
what was some of the first communities that you've incorporated into the Oasis or the castle? And what are some of the more memorable moments with those communities? That it could be through any of them, mind you, between 2 and 1 or castle.
Hello, I'm actually here to interrupt the episode you're watching really quick to ask you a favor. Please come join us at any of the other locations we have. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify, both of which we post our episodes and are very up to date on both. We have Discord where you go to hang out all the time, where you're gaming and shooting the breeze over with many people over that way. Feel free to come join us. I invite you. If you wish to support us, we have a Patreon where we post a bunch of random bits, bobs, and extra podcast every once in a while for you to go enjoy. Also, if you wish to support us while in VRChat, we're now part of the creator economy. So please come join if you wish to support us there. It's there for you to choose if you so wish. And thank you very much. And a special thanks to some of the people who have signed up on our Patreon, which are as follows, and I have written down so I'll remember. And that's a tough thing. Forbidden Zero, Niche, Aliquum, Future Oracle, Lesser Capybara, and Frozen. Thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
So the first two, so there were two friends of mine that had already been doing things. One of them was just starting, right? So there was Zumair, right? And what I would do is I realized that Zumair would always run his event at around 3 a.m. and then go until like 9 a.m., right? Like, or even later, right? And he would just do these banger DJ events, right? And everything like that. He's got that blimp up there. You can see it.
Yep.
So, he, what I would do is I would run my event until 3 a.m. I would have like 4 to 6 DJs, and we would run the actual castle thing, and then I would hand it off to Zumair, and then Zumair would take it 10 more hours or whatever, right? And it was really good. Like it was for a really long time. It kept going. Like, well, it is still to this day. Actually, it's just a little bit different, the dynamics, because of how everything has changed in terms of the other factors. So we started collabing like that, and for a little while there, I was talking to another friend, Neftanica. Neftanica is a streamer on Twitch, and she's I remember when she first started streaming, and everything like that, and she would DJ. She's a really amazing DJ, and if you ever see her, she always got like absolutely gorgeous succubus avatar and everything like that. And her and I, we went back before she even streamed, and we would start thinking about, well, what if we were to have a lap dance community called Soulwell, right? But on top of that, that section of the world that I built for Soulwell also had a DJ booth in it, and I talked to Necro, who that big building over there, the Citadel. She has a venue there, and she runs a goth industrial community called Sinister Saturday, or the VRChat After Dark. Sinister Saturday is the event. So between the three communities, we started getting more people who were interested in the world, and thus I would allow people to put their logos into the world, and the different communities that would start to happen. So that kind of like sparked it. So that was like the first three. But it wasn't technically. There was also another club called Club Rebellion, who was using the Zombie Doll Lounge at the time, and they wanted to start using the castle instead of the Zombie Doll Lounge. So they ended up coming in, and I'd have their logo there. And then other people would see like, oh yeah, I was at these events, and I would start making the world more available to other people, allow them to cut, and give them their own sections of it and everything like that. So that was sort of like the first inklings of going in that direction. Soulwell ended up being really successful for, I don't know how many years. It was 2-3 years old. Maybe something like that, maybe 2.5. And then VRChat After Dark, still ongoing. Zoom, still running events, as he always does. He does Welcome Back Wednesdays. I think there's one happening right now, actually. I don't know how many people are over there at the moment, but looks like 64 people over in that lobby. So there's 64 people in that blimp right now. And so that's basically how that went, is that it kept going like that. But then I started also, like, I'm naturally good at working with people. So what ends up happening is somebody comes to me, they suggest something that they think is cool, and then we work with it, and eventually we'll do that. And then eventually I talked with Paracel, and Pear runs the Strange Pear Art Gallery, right? And we were like, it would be really cool if we had an art gallery, but in the Oasis, and we ran that for a little while. Now the Pear Grove is his second venue. He actually has his own world, and he runs an art gallery in VRChat. but there are so many other communities that kind of came up as a result of all of that, and over the years, it's ridiculous how many there are now. But that was kind of like the earliest ones. Then we have like hypothetical. Then we have my God, I'm trying to think. We have Niki. There was just so many, and it just kept piling on. So there's definitely there's a vector here of progress. But it started with those three: Neftanica, Zoomer, and Necroneko. And uh, I apologize if I'm forgetting anyone, but I don't think I am. From the very early days, like we're talking very early, and countless DJs. DJs that were just getting started off, DJs that were splintered off from whatever the hell happened with what was it? Groove VR caused a huge explosion, and then people would. If you ever see something else, just like Hindenburg, just and then like people would sort of flood over because they were looking for a place to exist in VR, and I kind of watched that happen. Um, so I ended up with a lot of different individuals. Yeah, it started off with 3 and it kept going.
How's it feel looking back at the growth of your community from the early days with Zombie Doll Lounge to this amazing creation you have now? How do you even keep this thing optimized?
Carefully.
Ancient Chinese secret.
Well, it won't be a secret for long. I'm gonna go open source with all my shit pretty soon, or at least within reason. I might not go open source with my stuff in VRChat, but Darknet will be open source, so people will be able to figure out how I did all this, and they'll be able to just do it themselves. Yeah. How does it feel? I don't know. I feel like I've been in it for so long. I don't know how to feel anymore.
Well,
I don't
fair.
know.
Gaslight, have you ever had, when doing something or doing what you're doing and everything else like this, all of a sudden come across something and all of a sudden it was an accident and you go, that can't work. And then it did work. An accident. Just like,
actually,
how,
I have a funny
what
story.
Okay. But what I'm getting at is like, how Velcro was made.
Mhm.
Do you really know how Velcro was made? Because a lot of people
No.
think it was the. You
Well, how
don't
was it
know?
made?
Or
No,
Velcro
I
was
don't.
actually, that weed that sticks to your socks? And then when you pull
Yeah.
it off, the guy it was a farmer. He had it stuck to his sock, and that's how he got the idea for Velcro. It's crazy things like that that's off the wall that, and yeah, that type of deal.
There's a lot of things that I went too far when I advanced the development of this. Since this is within the VRChat sandbox, there are a lot of aspects of Oasis 2 that kind of ended up being like evolutionary dead ends that didn't quite go. But there's a lot of stuff I kind of shotgunned, like, because I took the first Oasis and I said, let's improve all of it. Not all of it needed to be not all of it needed to be improved.
Wow.
Not all of it. Sometimes so it's like, okay, so we have this aspect. We have a thing where if people really wanted to, it's currently functional right now. If they really wanted to, they can check to see like metadata for like who they could track it and see like how well each event is doing in terms of turnout, number of unique visitors and stuff like that, right? So like metadata is usually really valuable information. So I was like, this is a no-brainer. Everybody's gonna do it. But it ran into a UX wall because there's already so many other things that you have to learn in order to operate the world that people are just still getting used to the in-game world editor. Like now that people are getting used to it, they're building things I never would have predicted. But like, but there's only so much that you can do. You can only bend steel so far before it's like, okay, what are we doing now? And like, so there are a lot of things that I probably could have just, I didn't really need to go that far. I just did it anyway. And then, but there's a lot of stuff like that. But then there are also in terms of like how events are actually run, right? And I actually had a little thing that was pretty funny. I get to talk about how I had to eat a little bit of crow myself, because I was wrong. But it took a hell of a lot to prove me wrong, though. I'll begrudgingly say that. But there was recently an event called Gearfest, right? And my take was that doing multi lobbies like that and is way more effort than there is payoff in terms of like being able to do it. Now I know for a fact like running usually when somebody tries to run a multi-lobby event. Like Shelter does it really well, like and everything like that. They have their own methods in terms of like how they multi-lobby. But my take was that like if you do these multi-lobby things and you require people to have avatar restrictions, then it turns into a giant nightmare and there's too many people who are going to be disorganized and everything like that, right? So I started to go towards the idea of stream hosting instead. So stream hosting is my strategy to bring 1,000 people to an environment is to find a streamer who has 1,000 viewers outside of VRChat or something like that, and then have them attend the event and be there the entire time. That way, we have technically a lot of people who are enjoying the event, and then we have the main lobby, which benefits then from the promotion of the streamer, and the streamer benefits from the viewership boost, which snowballs the Twitch analytic or snowballs the Twitch like viewer count, right? Like people will tend to watch something that's got a lot of viewers, and the more viewers, the more people. It's just natural human nature, right? Which also then in turn brings more people to the lobby, and then we end up with like a thing. So like my strategy was to start doing things like stream hosting as a strategy, which is still valid. Like it's not that I was that wrong, but my friend Scoot, who don't always get along with because we have our different ideas, was very much about doing Gearfest in this method that is multi-lobbying with uh with everybody being organized and running like lots of different communities per lobby and stuff like that. Until Gearfest, I don't think I've ever seen it done really well. But Gearfest did it so fucking well. And they knocked it out of the park. Like I didn't even think that was possible. How well they did it. So I'm sitting there like, God damn it, I'm like, I'm sort of like half thinking to myself, it's like, God damn it, yeah, but it took a freaking army to do it. It's like that only counted as one. Like Gimli from fucking Lord of the Rings when Legolas take out an elephant. It's like that only counts as one. But the thing is, though, is that I was wrong. I was definitely wrong. I didn't think that that would even remotely be something that, I mean, sure, it had a lot of backing and everything like that, but I was like, I saw that as just, we can't really keep doing this. It's not worth the effort. But it turns out, not only did they manage to pack out for 4 days in a row, 3 80-player lobbies for 4 days in a row, which like outside of like virality or something like that, I don't even know. I think that's somewhat unprecedented from like within the communities that are within my circles. That's insane. Having 3 lobbies usually only go for like one day, and then you have 2 lobbies on day 2, and then you're lucky to have a 30 stack at the end of lobby of day 3, right? No, 4 days, and on the fourth day they had 4 lobbies of 80 players, not just 3. So I'm like sitting here like, oh shit, well, that's amazing. Well, I guess you know what I told Gear? I told Gearbolt, I'm looking at like a year ago, right? I said, dude, that's ridiculous. It takes too much effort to get 3 lobbies, for 4 days. That's insane. There's no way it could be done. That's what I said. That's what I fucking said. Yep, I was wrong.
How much ass kissing did you have to go back going, I'm sorry, you're the god. How you doing, Mr. Buddha?
Honestly, they didn't even flex it on me. They're really good people, so they didn't rub it in too much. Honestly, I'm
Too
rubbing
much.
it. I'm rubbing
You're
it
rubbing
in right
it in
now.
yourself.
If I talk,
You're
yeah,
rubbing
I'm
it in yourself.
because I fucking deserve it. Because I didn't see it. I hate it when I
Nah.
can't. I hate it when I fuck up. You know what I mean? Like I hate that. It's not. Yeah.
Well, it
So-
may Well,
I'm human, I guess.
fuck up some mistakes may hurt, but it's also a lesson learned. I'm sure
Well,
now with the
that's
stuff
right.
you've learned, you could take that and do greater things yourself. In a sense,
Mhm.
Gearfest kind of set a new precedent of how events can be run.
Yeah, to be fair, they kind of set a new precedent for everybody, right? It wasn't just me. It wasn't just me
Yeah,
that
it
was wrong.
wasn't just you. No, it wasn't.
It was other people too. All right.
There goes that gold bar. Look out, here it comes.
Yeah.
Yeah, back to the situation. Yeah.
I didn't get a loot box that day.
Jared put a really cool
Get
loot
a-
box in the janitor. He should go to Taco Bell and go looking for him.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh dear Lord, the wedding commercials. I don't want to think about that. I love you so hard. I love you so much, sweetheart. I'm giving you Frank the janitor. Take a loot box.
Yeah, it comes with a barf bag afterwards. Yeah, it's just the airline food.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. Sorry, I should have brought that one back up.
Well, you
Yeah,
did
we're
and
back
I
at
did.
gold bars now.
Yeah, I'm the one that brought it
no,
up.
no,
You
we're
just
not.
get playing in it. Yeah.
Don't give pink eye. Oh God, did I say that? No, I didn't.
Don't get pink eye.
Oh.
What the hell?
I don't say it again. I said it once. That was enough.
Hold on, I gotta check myself. Oh, pink eye.
The funny
yeah.
thing, you say pink eye. I was
Oh,
reminded of a
terrible.
story a friend of mine in Australia who works in a hospital told me. There was a doctor who had a patient come in, and did you know? I'll start this off. If you stick an object far enough in your colon, it doesn't get pushed out anymore; it gets sucked
Oh
in.
God, you with this?
Oh yeah, this is one of my favorite stories I was told, and I will regurgitate this many times as I
no.
can. It's funny.
Oh Jesus.
And she
Yeah.
goes in and she goes to have the doctor removed. And so the doctor grabs the pliers to spread it open, and then goes in with the other set of pliers
Yeah.
to grab the ball, pulls it out, and then geysered everything that was inside of her for 2 days.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Hey, you don't have to use that chalk to put an outline where the doctor was, because it's already covered in shit already around him. Nurse.
I think that's
nurse,
the
don't
only
worry
loot
about the
box
chalk.
story I know of that actually went out that way. But it wasn't a good prize.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh Lord. Well, I'll ask you the last couple questions to wrap up before this gets any more cursed.
Chris, I think it's already there, you asshole. It's already there. What are you talking about? Oh my God.
The name you have, the castle. Where did you get it from, and why do you still use it?
Oh, it's just building Quake maps. I just named myself the castle. That was it. I was just building castles in Quake.
Okay.
Oh
Just
man,
called it
I thought you were gonna say I went to the beach and go, God, that'd be a great name. Castle.
that. I mean, it's possible the Punisher probably had some influence there too. It was like, hey, that's kind of a cool name. I used to read comic books all the time and stuff like that. But like, nah. It was really just because it just was the first one that stuck and never really got rid of it. This is from the 1990s. It's like 93, 94. Yeah. Crazy, right?
Hey, it's a
Just stayed that way, and people call me that in real life.
Oh, really?
That's my real name as well. Like people who call me by my IRL name, like my government IRL name, like I give a weird response. I'm like, what are you doing? Stop it.
Well, thanks for sharing the story. It's actually awesome to know where it came from, and the avatar you're in. Where did it come from? Why do you use it? Is there anything about it that means anything to you?
It's difficult to find an avatar that feels comfortable.
Hmm.
And for a while, I was actually in a female avatar. There was a female version of this Avi, and there are a lot of things that I didn't realize that when it comes to avatars are a lot more serious. There's a lot more going on by it.
Uh-oh. Oh,
think
thank
he
God you
froze.
moved. I thought I froze because you stood
No,
dead
he
still,
froze.
staring at him.
Oh,
Like, oh wait, he's froze. Raptors froze. Man, I'm gonna go soon.
no,
Goodbye, world.
no, he froze.
Oh,
Poof, he'll be back. He'll be back, folks.
he'll be back.
We'll finish
Technical
this up.
difficulties. Please wait.
Yep. Oh boy. Fuck is the one that actually froze.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a really important point, and I still have it. So one of the reasons I don't know at what point I stopped talking. What point did I stop talking?
You were talking about how you were using a female avi for a while, and then use this one here.
Yeah, so I went with a male avatar because once I realized that avatars are a very important form of self-expression, to a very important degree in terms of like how people view you in the real world, and your avatar can end up becoming more popular than you are in real life. More people know who you are through your avatar than they do. So like at some point you have to understand that your self-expression is how you're choosing for people to actually see you in this world. And it's one of the reasons why I feel that custom avatars, or just having an avatar, or being in social VR in general, is a bad thing for children, is because they can't consent to having their body modified. They're children, right?
Yeah.
So the reason why social VR needs to be an adult thing is because even just a little bit, like the avatar's hands, like if it's just floating hands in front of you, well, they're female hands, right? There's a lot going on there psychologically when you have like an avatar with with a gender that doesn't match how you identify. There's a lot going on there, and you might not even realize it, or maybe most people won't even really care. But for me, being in a female avatar actually gave me gender dysphoria. I started feeling gender dysphoria. I'm like, okay, this is weird. This is not my body. This is not who I am. And then I just chose to be a furry instead. But it expresses who, at least from a, you know what I mean, like from a standard thing. Like I feel comfortable being in a male body versus being in a female body. But a lot of people don't realize the importance of the avatar in a VR setting. Even single player games like Half-Life Alyx, I've mentioned this numerous times. Valve did not understand the implications of putting everybody into a female body or a female persona, right? When they did that, that's actually kind of awkward when you start to really understand that this is actually a fairly serious thing. It's a big topic in and of itself, right? But so like yeah, when you make a VR game, what you kind of want to do is make it so that the person is themselves. You're in this world now and you are experiencing it, versus you are this character playing this role. It's not the same thing as a third person game or a first person game on flat screen, where there's a disconnect. When you look at your hands and you look at your arms, and you can, you actually feel that when you do that, it's a very different situation entirely than what you experience, in standard gaming. But a lot of people haven't made the jump to understanding that yet. Your avatar matters a lot, like a lot. So, but like there's different reasons for people to choose like all of these different things, but you're actually choosing something. You're making a conscious decision for your personal appearance. Either it be sexual dimorphic traits that are idealistic for attracting a partner, or, yeah, no, because when people see you that way, they react that way, right? So, yeah, there is a big discussion to be had about the topic in and of itself, and then it goes into a transhumanism and stuff like that. So you have to understand that it's not just such a simple thing. But yeah, I used a female avatar for a long time, and it felt like me at first, but then I started really thinking about it more, and I started realizing that this is maybe this isn't me. maybe this shouldn't be, because I've always been masculine. I've always been, I'm he, him. I've been a dude my whole life. And, yeah, it's kind of weird because you're in a female avatar. You get very different attention. Guys start hitting on you. You know what I mean? Like, that right there. If you're in a social environment and you're in a female avatar that's attractive, men will hit on you. So think about that. Think about all of the implications of that. How they see you, how they react to you, how that's a big decision. That's not a small decision. That's not a small decision at all. How you choose to make yourself look is a really big choice. And it matters especially in a social VR environment, especially as the technology only continues to get better and better. Face tracking, better and, higher poly avatars, better and better hardware for rendering pipelines that are more realistic and everything like that. Yeah, try to keep your bounds on reality. Like, try to express who you are and make sure that you understand the full ramifications of that. Right? That's one of the reasons why, if you're a minor, you shouldn't be making any of those kinds of decisions. No, you should grow up first and learn about yourself before you start delving into that. Like, I don't know, 13-year-olds playing this game? I don't know, man. There's a lot of weird avatars in this game, and they're putting them on like they're nothing. And we're just gonna let kids do that? I don't know, man. No. No. And they don't understand it because a lot of people don't understand it. This is like one of those things, like, maybe in 15 years, like, it'll be common knowledge. But to me, it feels a little bit like we're missing some points right now when it comes to the topic. Like, some serious, really serious points. But I mean, I'm probably being, like, overly dramatic about it at the moment, but yeah, there's something really, yeah, there's a lot more to it than just hey, lol, I chose to look like this. And it kind of also stems a little bit back because the earliest examples of this was EverQuest, where people would choose to be a female in EverQuest so that they would get, we called them twinks, right? Like, they would get, items that were, like, more advanced because they're a girl, they're pretending to be a girl, right? Essentially catfishing. But, like, they would that, and I remember seeing all those stories. Oh yeah, well, I like to look at a female butt rather. That's you, man. That's you. That's not you're looking at your own butt. You know what I mean? Like, but you don't make that jump. I never made the jump until realizing that there's something a little bit more personal about that until the jump to VR. Once you're in your avatar, that's another story. There's something else going on there. You're choosing to look that way, like, and you're choosing to feel that way. You're choosing to look in a mirror and see yourself that way. Right? Yeah. People are reacting to you because of how you have chose to express yourself, right? Yeah. It's adult. It's adult in nature. It's a very big decision. So, I don't know, like, I haven't quite figured it out, but it's really difficult to find an avatar that you feel is you. But when you actually do find something that feels like home, it says a lot about yourself. Like, like, wait a minute, I do feel at home in a female avatar. And there's a lot of people in VRChat that are like that. They feel that way, right? But how and why? Like, there's a huge discussion to be had about it. So if you feel more at home in a female avatar, what does that say? Right? And then even to a certain extent, people who play a female character in an MMO like World of Warcraft, they play a night elf female, right? And some guy, right? What does that say? But you don't really, it's not that much of a topic because it was always just something kind of silly. But when you are the night elf female and everyone's reacting to you that way and treating you that way and hitting at you in bars, what is that? Now that's a little bit different. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah. Probably went overboard with the answer for that, but
That's okay.
avatars not I don't think that avatars are a simple thing at all.
No, I agree. So why did you choose this specific model you're in now? Why does this feel like home to you?
I don't know. It just did. Sometimes when you find an avatar that looks different than everybody else, they can spot you from across the room, and it has certain traits about it that were interesting. I started to choose to look that way. Um, I don't know. There's something that happens. It's kind of like when a cat adopts you.
Mm.
You know, sometimes you get an avatar that just feels right, and you're like, huh, you know, and then you just don't want to switch away from it, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely a journey for finding yourself, right? It is, or at least how you do it. And there are people who switch avatars all the time, and then there are people who are always the same. My tendency is to pick one avatar and then just never change because I like for people to be able to recognize me, you know, as who I am. But then there are people who will like switch from this avatar to that avatar. But even in those cases, they always have some kind of underlining style or expression. So they'll switch from a Flexa to a Dottie, but they'll still have the same clothing colors, right?
Yeah.
Or same, you know, eyes or something like that, right? Like you have like things that are sort of, they're switching avatars all the time, but they kind of keep certain aspects each
Mm.
time that they do it, and it becomes just like the new, like putting on some new designer clothes or something like that, right? So it's like, yeah, I don't know. So I ended up finding, I just ended up finding this, and there are, so the original race of this particular furry is called a Durukulurukali. I think I'm fucking butchering it, and there aren't that many of us. There are maybe 3 or 4 of us in the entirety of VRChat. Like, I don't see that many of this particular furry model.
Mm.
And that sort of just felt really cool to be able to have something that was different than everybody else. You know, you just don't see it. And it still looks really good, and it's really, you know, it's really cool. It's a really interesting design. It has, original, like, lore and everything that's behind it, although I don't really pay too much attention to that. I just like the way it is, and then I molded it into a fox instead of, you know, its base features, right? Which, you know, it, so I'm a cat dog. That's how we joke about it. Are you a cat? Are you a dog? I'm a fox. I'm somewhere in the middle, you know. And that's kind of where I went with it, and it's currently how I've felt comfortable for a while now. Ever since I switched to a male avi, I have never had any dysphoric feelings
Mm.
at all. Completely eliminated all of those tendencies to a point where I often won't even think about it anymore. I just don't think about it. This doesn't occur to me. But before, I'd be like, this looks a little, you know, maybe I need to make the boobs smaller. This feels, you know, I was like trying to change myself, and then I realized, okay, this is gender dysphoria. Fuck. I'm actually having it. Yeah.
Mm. Well, thank you very much, Castle, for allowing us to hear that and sharing that with us. So, and even thank you for
Mhm.
coming on. Let us get to hear your tale. It was an absolute honor. So, thank you very much.
Yes,
Yeah,
very
thank
much
you.
so. Thank you very much.
Mm.
It was
Appreciate it.
fun. I don't. How long did we go?
2 hours, over 2 hours.
Holy crap! I wonder why. What did they talk about?
Yes.
God damn it.
Yes. Lion, I'll play with Lion's question. Yes.
Never give me a multiple choice. My answer will be yes. Do you want to go left or right? Yes. Do you want a cat or a
Yes.
dog? Yes. Do you want to play
Yes.
video games or board games? Yes. I'm no help with anything. I do that on
Yeah,
purpose.
tell me about it. I got to deal with it. Yeah, tell me. It's always yes. Oh, crap. Okay, fine. Fuck it.
Well, if anyone in the audience wishes to reach out and find you, where can they go to find you?
So I'm on Twitter. I'm fairly active on there. I call it Twitter. I know I'm supposed to call it X, but if I call it X, people think I'm talking about the X-Men or something. Like the branding is weird. But you'll find me at VRUnderground. You can find my group. If you promote the group, that'll be a direct connection to the Discord and the Patreon, and everything like that. So that's the main ones. Discord, Patreon, group, and VRChat are my main vectors. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I'm forgetting about that I'll. Oh, damn it! Later.
Well, everything will be in the description down below for you, the audience. If you're on YouTube or you're in Spotify, it'll be in the episode description. And both will have a section that we have labeled called guest links. Everything will be there in one easy place. Future Line will figure it out and put everything that in there and more for Defined Castle, VRU Underground, and the Oasis, VR chat groups, and more. Even the world link will be down there for you to find. And I will leave you, the audience, a question as well. We usually have been doing a couple comments, but I'm going to go back to asking questions again. What was the first video game you played? I'll tell you mine. It was the Legend of Zelda 1 on a GameCube collector's disc. It was like the very first Legend of Zelda a long time ago. It was the first thing I've ever played. I'd like to hear yours. Let me know what it is. With that said, Raptor, you know the thing.
Yeah, no matter what, you folks, the camera is shaking, but you know, most of the things that you do in here and you have a situation, no matter which way it is, and yes, I lost train of thought what I was gonna go with, but hey, what the fuck? If you see a poop box in one of his fucking worlds, please don't step in it. Do me a
Don't give me
favor,
ideas.
don't step and don't dig in it to look for that golden bar. We'll talk to you later, folks. Have a good one. Bye. That's what you call it.
I always called them sparks.
Well, it can be sparks. They used to call them the other thing. I just said that I wasn't supposed to. But yeah.
I've never heard them
They
called
mean
that.
it to.
Ever.
Yeah, we used to call them in boys. We used to call them in Boy Scouts all the time. That.
Oh.
And you're talking about us watching your mouth. You had to really watch. But that's what they were called.
Oh, really?
We called them that.
I had no idea. That's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. The more you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.